Good morning and welcome to your Thursday edition of the Morning Jog. My name is Matt Cohan and I am joined, as always, by BroBible's two, dare I say, esteemed coxmen, Francis Ellis and Robbie Berger. How are you?
Just never know where he's going with that intro, Francis. I never know where he's going.
Does that mean that we're like out here, knocking down the babes and stuff with our
Coxman means it's sexually accomplished.
Oh God.
Nice.
So I know Robbie, you're in your 20s, so you still got the juice. Francis, you're 31, so you technically probably have low T if you're anything like me.
Bobby Coxman, I like it.
My sex record lifetime is definitely is a losing record at this point.
There's still plenty of time, Francis. But moving on.
A lot of ties.
Yeah, a lot of ties. A lot of sorries at the end.
Yeah.
Moving on. We hope you guys at home are being good to yourself and getting some fresh air. We know lockdown can seem, a bit like a prison. But your prison is Billy McFarland's paradise.
Yeah. Nice, dude.
Thank you, brother. I know I always get your support. The 28-year-old Fire Festival con artist asked to be released into home confinement earlier this month, citing the out-of-control coronavirus outbreak at FCI Elkton Prison in Ohio that has already claimed the lives of 7 prisoners. McFarland, who hasn't yet served half of his 6-year sentence, has argued that he could begin fulfilling a court order to repay victims $26 million if released. McFarland cited a pending deal for an interview with a major streaming service, as well as plans for a novel, a memoir, and a podcast. Francis, does Billy deserve to be a free man in light of this prison outbreak?
Billy McFarland is a slippery fish. He might be the most slippery fish of all the fish in the fish bucket, okay? Just coming up with this now. Look, here's the thing, all right? This is a guy who is a career con artist, and I don't think that prison is going to reform that out of him. Prison cures people of, other things, but being a con artist is exactly what prison is set up for. Con artists thrive in prison. They're the guys who find ways to sneak paintbrushes and butt plugs in and through contraband. They meet boofers. They get them to work for them. This guy's operating probably a whole scheme. So he may even have a podcast going in prison. It wouldn't surprise me. Having said that, I like the fact that the prosecutor stiff-armed his effort to get out. I don't think anyone wants to hear this guy talk on a podcast. I don't think anyone wants to read his memoir. And every day that he's in prison, especially a COVID-infested prison, is a day that the rest of us are safe from buying VIP villas at festivals that don't exist.
Francis, but before I hand it over to Robbie here, let me ask you a question. Don't you kind of make the point that he should be allowed out, but considering he's not, he's probably the least threatening human being to be let out. Tekashi X9 was tied to gangs, and he was out on house arrest. Billy McFarland, what's he going to do? Write you a bad check?
I don't think people are going to be buying tickets from him for a festival again anytime.
But this is my point. This is exactly why he is the biggest threat right now. You're going to let a guy out who is known for organizing a festival with thousands of people that did not have proper medical supplies, where everyone was cramped and crowded together, underfed, underwatered. I guess you don't really water people, but my point being, the next thing you know, he's going to be bringing everyone down to the Bahamas again, and that's the last thing we need right now.
I stand corrected. Robbie?
I think McFarland had a pretty valid case going to the judge out of the get-go. A lot of people in prison right now are pushing to get, pulled out of there, which a lot of them have. I think he totally lost the judge when he mentioned podcast. I think that's where I think the judge, I could just imagine, really was like, okay, you know what? He's got a good case. As soon as the podcast word came out at the book, everything went out the window. It all, as if we're waiting, just waiting, itching for Billy McFarland to release a podcast.
Yeah.
Is just beyond me. I don't know if he's representing himself. I would like to think that any judge out there wouldn't have let him said the word podcast. He did, and he will be behind bars, in my opinion, as he should be. Matt Cohen, I'll let you take it away from there.
It's great, Robbie.
It is. You need sponsors to actually get a podcast. It's tough to see anybody actually jumping on that. But an interview, a podcast, a novel, and a memoir. What kind of sociopath do you have to be to think you deserve this spotlight? Aren't you embarrassed, dude? Aren't you embarrassed? I can't face a person. If I go in for a hug and they go in for a handshake, I can't face him for a month. And this guy has fucked over so many people, and he wants a podcast and to write a memoir. Outrageous.
The problem is that two of the world's biggest streaming services, Hulu and Netflix, both produce documentaries on what he did. But what he doesn't understand is that he wasn't the star of those documentaries.
Yeah,
he was the villain.
He thinks because he was in them and prominently featured that like everyone's interested in what he has to say. People were more interested in the fact that Ja Rule was part of it, and models, and that gay dude who was going to help him by blowing that other guy. I mean, those were the
and those
stars.
pigs. You can't forget about the pigs swimming around.
Yeah, the woman who ran that food place in the Bahamas. I mean, these were the people that we were cared about. We all hated collectively Billy McFarland.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I would prefer a Ja Rule podcast over a Billy McFarland podcast any day of the week.
Right, of course.
Oh yeah.
Fuck this guy. Let's move on from him. He does not worth our time. Someone who is worth our time is Iron Mike Tyson. The 53-year-old revealed last week he is training for a return to the ring amid plans to fight in a 4-round exhibition charity match. Now, Tyson has not fought since being stopped by Kevin McBride 15 years ago, but has said he wants to fight again to make some money to help some homeless and drug-affected motherfuckers like me. Robbie, do you respect this move?
I do. And you know what? I hate to say it, hot take here, but I think Mike Tyson would be making a mistake if he gave it all to charity, because I don't think he realizes how much money he can make from this. You saw ESPN tried to do it with the horse competition. You're just thinking of some type of entertainment to give people right now. You want entertainment, you put Mike Tyson back into the ring, whoever it's against, and I guarantee you're going to get entertainment there. You're seeing him throw some of these jabs. It's like it's never left him. And maybe I'm crazy to say it, but I really think he's still got it. He's ducking and diving, and I think Tyson still got it. I think it's primetime entertainment. I would pay pay-per-view to see that. Tyson will be making a big mistake. Just take 5 to 10%. Don't give it all to charity. He can make a ton of money off of it. So can charities.
It's a great point. I think Mike Tyson, like Michael Jordan and I guess Tiger Woods, has that legacy that continues to grow. Where, I find myself going back to watch knockout compilations, on a almost a weekly basis. It's crazy to think how reviled he was at times in his career, and how just being away from boxing, somehow he's now become this nationally beloved, iconic sports figure. He's a pop culture guy. He was in the Hangover movies, and then he did this run on Broadway that somehow turned out great, even though he's barely able to speak. Part of me worries that if he stepped back into the boxing ring, it would unleash that rapist, murderous guy that accompanied his greatness while he was the king of the heavyweight division.
Right. It kind of sounded surprising because he was on the Rogan podcast, I don't know, maybe like a year ago, and he sounded like this very spiritual and enlightened guy. He's like
all over the
weed
place.
smoker.
Yeah.
He convinced me, and I was like, he said he doesn't have any desire to get back into the ring. I mean, he just sounded like he was at a good place, and now he says he's training on the bike and treadmill for an hour, doing light weights, 300 reps. And then he hits the bag for 25, 30 minutes. And this isn't a gimmick, boys.
And you know what? Just to add to that, this isn't like Reggie Miller coming back to the court and shooting jump shots and showing us that he's still got his jump shot, because odds are he does. We're talking about a guy going back into the boxing ring at the age of 53. That I think a lot of people agree that he'd have a shot to still have it. I mean, I don't think it doesn't look like he's lost it regardless of age.
Well, who would he fight is the question.
Put him against Tyson Fury. I mean, shit. I think people would still be betting Mike Tyson. It's if you see these videos, it's insane.
Yeah, he's so fast.
It's like it never left him. It's insane. I don't think he could take the type of punches that he could. Not that anybody was punching him, but the big question would be who gets in the ring with him.
Yeah, and it would be what would involve this Mike Tyson circus, because he was the greatest. Would he have that same trash? The greatest trash talk line, in my opinion, was when he said, "I'm gonna fuck you until you love me." I can't. Is that the most romantic or the most repugnant thing I've ever heard? Maybe both. I don't know, but it's
the most Mike Tyson thing for sure.
The most Mike Tyson thing. Nobody else can do it, baby.
He had a way of grabbing his junk and shaking it at you where you could kind of like see exactly what was happening, which part of his junk he was grabbing. I don't know if it was the pants he was wearing. Yeah. I remember watching that clip as a kid and being like, huh.
He's got that Goodell bulge, that Goodell NFL draft bulge.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Speaking of world famous mics past their prime, the biggest distraction of the ESPN's The Last Dance documentary, aside from them jumping literally all over the place, like years, you don't know if he's on Pippen's team or not. It's all fucked up. That's been a huge distraction. But the biggest distraction is Michael Jordan's eyes. They look to be the color of Bong Water. BroBible's Eric Italiano has already written about this, but it's worth mentioning again, fellas.
Wish I could go get my bong right now. It looks identical to his eyes. I swear to you. I was so
trying to think
on.
of,
so spot on.
Francis, are you worried about this?
Let me tell you something. First of all, I want to address Bong Water, okay? Yeah. Because I used to smoke a bong, and maybe I'm a neat freak, but every time I was done with it, I would dump the water out, and because I liked smoking it with fresh water. But I have also been around people that just leave it to develop algae blooms and become brackish, and it serves as this kind of ecosystem for whatever things they want to feed their lizard. So I don't understand why Bong Water has become the litmus test for disgusting, stagnant things. With that said, Michael Jordan appears to smoke more cigars than anyone on earth. And I don't know about you guys, but I've smoked a few cigars. And one of the things that is tough about cigars, especially if you're not outdoors, is that the smoke can waft into your eyes. Yeah. And especially if you're someone who just like keeps it in your mouth, especially like when you're golfing, which I know he does a lot, and it stings. It's a noxious fume of smoke, right?
It's on your clothes.
My guess would be that that's where his jaundice type eyes are coming from.
Look, I think if there is cigar smoke that is going to go into my eyes, I want it to be out of the cigar that Michael Jordan's smoking.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows that is not a cheap cigar. Look, I think Jordan kind of pulls off the look. Maybe I'm just being biased as a Michael Jordan guy here.
You are.
Probably the only person I think that would be able to pull it off is Michael Jordan. I mean, this guy could do anything, and it would just make sense. There was always that thing where defenders would say, don't look Michael Jordan in the eyes, don't look him in the eyes because of that competitive edge. Imagine if he had those eyes going into the 97, 98 season. He'd be dropping 50 a game. Yeah. I mean, it's like, why even play with those things? So, yeah, I think Michael pulls it off. I really do.
Yeah, and Francis, I think you brought up a good point, too, about his, cigar addiction. I mean, imagine if Jordan was, picked up a cigarette habit, how that would be stigmatized. That would not be accepted. But cigars are, the manly way of, it's weird.
Dude, he's been on the cover of Cigar Aficionado probably 50 times. It's like always him and Matthew McConaughey. And the thing is, smoking cigarettes is known to be one of the worst things that you can do to in terms of aging, like preventing the aging process. Cigarettes.
That and meth.
Yeah, meth, sunlight, all those are the things. I have to think that cigars are right up there in terms of what they would do to your skin and your eyeballs. I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's my thought.
And I mean, at what point does cigars become more dangerous than cigarettes? I think we have this thing in our heads that cigars are so much better, but when you smoke them the way Mike does, you got to think with how big and thick. Do you see how long some of his cigars are?
Yeah.
You
They're
got. At
killing
what
him.
point are they worse for cigarettes?
Dude, have you guys smoke cigars?
Yeah.
I smoke cigs occasionally. I've
Oh,
smoked. No
okay,
cigar.
Matt. No surprise there. One of those people.
Actually, I can't take a quick 5.
Yeah. Jesus. So okay, when the day after you wake up, if you're not like a habitual cigar smoker, the next morning when you wake up after you smoked a cigar, that day is gone. It's shot. You can't unglue your mouth. There's nothing that stays with you longer than a fucking cigar. And I'm talking, you smoke it down to the label, and then you unpeel it and keep going and smoke it like a joint. Like, my mouth is so toast. And he's just chain smoking these.
So funny, but it's so fucking true. It's so true.
I don't know how you get past that. Yeah.
Tough act to follow there, Matty.
Tough act. I mean, I'm gonna actually let our listeners take that in, because I am still processing that. And there you have it, folks. That is your Thursday edition of the Morning Jog. We wish you all a jaundice-free Thursday. We will see you back here Tuesday. We love you. Peace.